Hey guys, welcome back. This is the story of what if Deku became a villain. Copyright disclaimer, I do not own this fanfiction in any way possible. Information about the author and this fanfic is in the description. Now without further ado, let's start the story. Can someone without a quirk be a hero? Asked Midoriya. His teacher's voice broke his train of thought. You guys are all third years now, it's time to start thinking about your careers and futures seriously. I want to hand out these career forms, but I assume you all want to be heroes. He said as threw the papers in the air. Midoriya always wanted to be a hero, it was his dream, but he was born quirkless. On top of that, his childhood best friend became his bully, even giving him the nickname Deku, meaning useless. Bakugo made Izuku's life a living hell by teasing him, abusing him, and belittling his once best friend. You're aiming for UA too, aren't you, Midoriya? Bakugo and the rest of the class turned to look at Midoriya. They all laughed at the idea of Midoriya becoming a hero, but Bakugo turned and slammed his hand on Midoriya's desk while adding an explosion, making him fall back on his chair. Forget them, you're quirkless, you're below everyone else and you think you can keep up with me, screamed Bakugo as he drove Midoriya to the back of the class. It's always been my dream and I thought I could try the entrance exam and try, said Midoriya in a low voice as the class mocked him. After school, Midoriya was on his phone. All Might, the #1 hero in Japan as well as his idol, was spotted nearby. Midoriya picked up his hero notebook, but not before Bakugo swiped it out of his hand. Midoriya reached out to grab it, but Bakugo had already burned it. What I'm trying to say is don't you dare go to a nerd, said Bakugo as he put his hand on Izuku's uniform and started using his quirk to burn Midoriya's uniform. As Bakugo was walking out the door with his friends, he said the words that would change Midoriya's fate forever. If you want to be hero so bad, I've got an idea that might save you some time. If you think you'll have a quirk in your next life, go jump off a roof, Bakugo said to Midoriya. Midoriya wanted to fight back, but he couldn't. How could he? Midoriya only mustered an angry look with tears filling up his eyes. Bakugo sneered at Midoriya and showed off his quirk. Midoriya stood in homeroom all alone, crying and afraid, with no fire ends to turn to, no shoulder to cry on except his mother. She is the only person in this world who was there for him. But it's not enough. Midoriya went outside to go pick up his notebook and he began having thoughts that no middle schooler should ever have. Why? Why is he allowed to this to me in front everyone, in front of the teachers? They just let him do what he wants. I may be quirkless, but I'm human too. I'm human, aren't I? Midoriya thought as the tears clouded his eyes. Later that day, I don't think so, kid, said All Might. A pro should be willing to risk his life at any moment. Without a quirk you'll just get hurt or even worse, All Might said firmly to Midoriya. All Might's words made Midoriya freeze up. All his dreams, aspirations, all his hope was being crushed. If you want to help people become a police officer, they get a lot of hate because they lock up the criminals that pros have taken care of, but it is admirable work. It's okay to dream, kid, however you have to be realistic, said All Might with a sigh. Even All Might said it, the #1 hero. Don't cry, you knew this already, and because you knew you still, and yet you tried so damn hard, Midoriya said as he began to cry, his eyes glazed with tears. Midoriya noticed a crowd begin to crowd around an alley, but this time he turned away and walked home. No thoughts filled his mind, no more ambitions, not anymore. Inko Midoriya greeted him. Hey sweetie, how was school? She said, happy her son came home. Her husband worked overseas. Midoriya put on his fake smile and told her, good mom, I met All Might today, can you believe it? Said Midoriya. Inko smiled and hugged her son. He had always wanted to meet All Might. Little did she know this was the night that she would lose her son. Izuku was alone in his room. It was 10 p.m. He was finally ready. He got all the things he needed and finished up his apology letter. Inside was his reasons why, a location, and his entire life savings, a total of 500,000 yen. I'm sorry, Mom, Midoriya said as he crept through his window. Midoriya arrived to a rooftop at 12:35 a.m. The same rooftop where his dreams were crushed. He took off his shoes, stood at the edge, his notebook in hand. He grasped it tightly and jumped. Am I dead? Thought Midoriya. He expected death. Instead, he was greeted with something much more terrifying. As Midoriya slowly opened his eyes, they grew wide at the sight of a crooked and disgusting-looking blade on his neck. The man wielding the blade wore a torn-up red scarf with multiple blades holstered all over his body, and he had eyes that were filled with murderous intent and malice. It was Stain, the hero killer. Out of instinct, Midoriya tried to scramble backwards but felt a pain in his right arm and realized that his arm broke from the fall. Stain steps forward slowly and speaks in a raspy, demanding voice, who are you? And why did you attack me? Izuku choked up and couldn't muster up any words. Answer me now unless you want to die here, Stain shouted. Afraid, Midoriya managed to choke up some words. I didn't mean to, I'm sorry, I just... Midoriya said nervously. He couldn't finish his sentence. How could he say he wanted to commit suicide like it was nothing? Stain lifted his blade. You just what? Shouted Stain. I tried to kill myself. Okay, please let me die already, explained Midoriya in a sad tone. Stain was surprised to say the least. He thought this boy was trying to attack him, but it was just a teen who wanted to end it all. Stain, realizing the boy posed no threat, put his sword away and knelt down so he could look at this boy in the eye. Why did you do it? Stain asked in a more calm voice. Midoriya wondered if he should even tell him, but after thinking about it he came to the conclusion the hero killer does not gain anything by knowing, so he ultimately decided to tell him. It started when I was born without a quirk. Midoriya explained his whole life story except his conversation with All Might. That's what's wrong with this society. A quirk determines what you are in this world now. Fake heroes and mindless criminals pollute this world now. Stain scowled. Midoriya was a bit surprised at what he was hearing, to say the least. Stain was right. Every day more and more heroes became heroes for selfish reasons, only in it for the fame and wealth, and the amount of criminals had also increased dramatically. The silence was broken by Stain yet again. Hey, what's up? That notebook? Stain asked. Izuku didn't realize he was still holding onto his notebook. Oh, it's my hero analysis notebook. I record quirks and the possible uses, upgrades, and weaknesses, but I don't need it now. Want to see it? Responded Midoriya as he lifted his notebook to Stain. Stain knew after hearing his life story Midoriya could have been a true hero. His reason to be one was so noble. Stain received the notebook and began to read every single page, becoming more and more interested each page he turned. Wow, these are so detailed. You have a real talent. It's amazing the amount of data behind these notes are incredible, said Stain as he kept looking through the notebook. A subtle crooked smile began to form. Izuku was surprised and happy someone finally acknowledged him for something he did. Really? You think so? I worked hard on them. My favorite is page 175. I think Kamui's ability is amazing, said Midoriya happily. Stain then gave a sad smile. This kid has been through so much, and even after attempting suicide he still smiles. This kid needs someone to guide him, someone he can look up to, he thought. Hey kid, I got a proposition for you. Would you like to hear it? Stain said. Midoriya looked up at Stain with a confused face, and the proposition Stain gave was something Midoriya never expected to hear from the infamous hero killer. Come with me and I'll teach you everything I know, proposed Stain to Midoriya. Midoriya was baffled at the question. The hero killer wanted him to become his apprentice essentially. Midoriya would have said no, but it seemed Stain was the only person in this world who believed he could be seen as more than a useless quirkless kid aside from his mother. Midoriya then remembered all the bullying in his conversation with All Might. They'll do it, he responded confidently. Stain was overwhelmed with enthusiasm and joy, but before he could say anything else Midoriya spoke. But I have some rules. 1. Inko. Midoriya, my mother stays out of it completely. 2. I want to live with you. I can't go home, not anymore. It's better if people think I'm dead. And 3. I won't kill. I know you kill heroes, but I'm not going to be a part of that, stated Midoriya. Stain was understanding of the conditions except the final one, but he knew deep down Midoriya longed to be a hero even if he was willing to turn to the other side. Fine, I'll put my ideals on hold for you, and you have my word your mother will be left alone, said Stain. Stain was angry he had to put hero killing on hold, but he was anxious to teach Midoriya his ways and mold a once scared child into something more. Midoriya was relieved Stain was willing to put his crusade on hold for him. Alright, let's get out of here, Midoriya said, but as soon as he said those words he passed out. He passed out due to the pain in his arm and the amount of adrenaline pumping through his body, Stain thought. Amazing, we were talking for 30 minutes and just now he passed out. This kid really is something, Stain thought as he picked up Midoriya and took him to one of his hideouts. The next morning, Inko woke up and decided to cook and bring Izuku's favorite meal, katsudon, to his bed. As she opened the door her legs became heavy as she dropped the plate. She ran to the window and searched all over her son's room, hoping there was sign that he left early in the morning to the convenience store or to the mall. Inko wanted something, until she found her answer in the form of a note. Inko read the note and she could feel herself become heavier every word she read, until finally she collapsed on the floor, crying and gripping onto the note. She kept asking why and began to doubt herself and if she failed as a mother. Inko barely managed to get downstairs to the phone as she called for the police. As Inko was sitting in her house wrapped in the security blanket the police gave her, she was given the news that there was no body at the address given on the note, but Midoriya's shoes were found at the rooftop. We think he may have gone to a higher rooftop, or in the best case scenario he jumped and landed on something that cushioned his fall, and he decided ultimately to run away from home instead of. You know, the detective said. Both scenarios were bad, but at least in one her son was alive. A little ray of hope lit inside her heart that her son was still alive. For now we will make a missing persons report. Hopefully he's still out there, explained the detective. Please find my baby, pleaded Inko as the detective gave a sad smile. I'll find him, I promise, he said as he began to walk out the door. Wait, what's your name? Asked Inko. Forgive me, my name is Naomasa Tsukachi, said Naomasa. Thank you so much, please find my baby boy, begged Inko. Naomasa smiled and said, I promise I'll find him, as he finally walked out the door and walked into his vehicle. 2 days later, Midoriya woke up in rundown room with 2 blocks of wood on both sides of his arm. Where am I? Asked Midoriya out loud. You're in one of my many hideouts, Midoriya. You passed out from the pain and adrenaline that was pumping throughout your body 3 days ago, stated Stain. Midoriya was astonished he was out that long as he tried to get up, but his arm was still in pain. 3 days? Ow. I forgot I broke my arm, said Midoriya. Stain looked at Midoriya's arm and explained, turns out it's not broken, Midoriya, it's dislocated just very badly, said Stain. Well, can't you, I don't know, relocate it maybe, exclaimed Midoriya as he held onto his arm. I said I was going to train you and now is a good time to start. Midoriya, you are going to relocate your own arm, stated Stain in a serious tone. Midoriya's face grew pale as he noticed he wasn't joking. Are you serious? How am I going to do that? I can barely handle stubbing my toe and you want me to relocate my arm, explained Midoriya nervously. Since you're quirkless, you must train your body to endure pain and train it to be stronger than the average human body, explained Stain as he began to put his hand on his shoulder. Look at how I do it, Stain said as he dislocated his own shoulder with relative ease and not even flinching. Midoriya cringed at the sight of a shoulder being dislocated in front of him. Now look, my shoulder is clearly dislocated. With enough training you will be able to relocate certain parts of your body while feeling little to no pain. Look closely how I relocate my arm, Stain explained as he grasped his shoulder and popped it back into place like it was nothing, no sign of hesitation or a hint of pain. Midoriya was shocked, amazed, and terrified. I have to relocate my own arm, thought Midoriya as he gulped. We won't begin training until you've done that, Stain said as he walked to the corner of the room and sat in a chair and began to sharpen his blades. Midoriya was nervous to say the least. Every time he grasped his arm it hurt like hell. However, after seeing Stain do it and because Midoriya was so skilled at analysis, he knew exactly how to pop his arm back in place. Next came the hard part, actually doing it. Midoriya took a deep breath. Okay, I can do this, I am not going to be weak anymore, he yelled as he grasped his arm and in one swift motion popped his arm back into place. Midoriya yelped so loudly he scared himself, but his arm was finally back in. Was surprised. He thought the kid would take a little longer to do it, but he did it almost instantly after just showing him how to do it. Midoriya got up off the bed and gave a victory scream at the top of his lungs. Stain smiled as he saw his apprentice give his victory scream. What are you made of, kid? Stain said as he got up and was prepared to catch Midoriya as he was beginning to faint. Stain, I did it, haha dash. Midoriya managed to choke up before passing out again. You sure did, Stain smiled as he laid Midoriya down on the bed again. If it wasn't for this world's ideals you would have been a true hero, kid, Stain said as he sighed. At Midoriya's old school. What do you mean he's gone? The bastard couldn't have gone anywhere, yelled Bakugo at his principal. Well, Midoriya is missing and we thought you would know where he would go since you are his best friend. Maybe a secret hiding spot he used to go to, maybe, explained the principal. Don't associate me with that nerd, we were never best friends. Are we done here? Clamored Bakugo as he was already 1 foot out the door. Yes, thank you for your time, Bakugo, you can go back to class, said the principal as he returned to his paperwork. Deku can go die for all I care, at least now he won't bother me in my road to being the #1 hero, he thought. Besides, it's not like the idiot had the balls to kill himself, he probably just ran away from home, Bakugo said in his head. The entrance exam to U.A is in 11 months, I have to get ready for my bright future, he said as he smiled and walked back into class. Back at Stain's hideout, Midoriya wakes up again and gets up with his once dislocated arm. It doesn't hurt anymore, it's like nothing ever happened, said Midoriya as Stain was fixing the bandages around his arm. It's this ointment I may take a look, I use over-the-counter ointments and some herbs, small cuts and sore bones heal faster. Here have the ingredients, I already know how to make it at the top of my head, said Stain as he threw the ointment towards Izuku with the ingredients. You know, you surprised me, kid, I didn't think you would pop your arm back in place like it was nothing, Stain said as he gave a little laugh. Midoriya couldn't help but smile. "This stuff is amazing," said Midoriya as he started mumbling to himself while looking at the ingredients, wondering how they can be improved. "What are you doing? It's creeping me out a bit," said Stain. Midoriya looked up, snapping out of his trance. "Oh, it's just a habit I have. When I find something that's interesting, I like to think of all its possible uses and improvements, much like my notebook," said Midoriya as he put the ingredient list into his notes for later use. "Get up, we're going out and we're going to start training right now," Stain said. Midoriya was a bit excited too. He was a bit inspired. He had just popped his own arm back into place. "Kid, you need a name. We can't just use your real name," Stain stated. Midoriya already knew what name he wanted. "Deku, that's the name he'll be using," Midoriya said. Stain was surprised. He wanted to use the name that has haunted him for his entire life. "I'm going to make this into a name people will remember," said Midoriya. Stain was proud, to say the least. "You're going to use the name that haunted you your entire life. It's admirable," said Stain. "Alright Deku, let's get started," said Stain. "This is a long one. Hope you guys enjoyed." Laughing face. I wanted to make Stain a bit more mellow in terms of how he interacts with Deku. Of course, he's still very intense and cruel, and the training is only going to get more grueling and intense, just giving him a little soft spot for Deku. Next time, now the real training begins and Stain isn't pulling any punches. The U.A entrance exam is coming up in the next chapter. But how will it play out this time? And that is the end of the prologue. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.